Welcome back to Edgework on the Hammer Betting Network, a daily live NHL show Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on YouTube live on all of those days. You can go over there, subscribe to us, like this stream. You can also turn on notifications by clicking that bell so that you get notified every single time that we go live on this channel. You can find us on Twitter at Edgework Show. And of course, you can find all of the picks that are given out on this show in real time through the course of the week. You want to see our history through the beginning of the season, you can find this on the BetStamp app in the Find Better section as Edgework. Up on the year so far, Rob, Todd, so let's keep it going here today. Not the usual crew, but the last couple Fridays we've had to rotate through, and this is the first time I think that we've come on here, and I haven't been like cut off right away at the beginning by Andy, his mic not working or him coughing or something. So it's an interesting day today here, Rob.
It's a nice break for all of us from Andy on a Friday. So I'm appreciating it. I want to end my 2022 strong, and no better way to do it than without Andy. So appreciate Todd jumping in here. But I think Andy had to take his kid to the dentist today or something. And I know that the kid already probably has some bad genes because of his father. So take care of that. Get the teeth cleaned and everything like that right away, right?
You just know he's going to come on to the next one and tell us about how good of a dad he is because on his kid's birthday, he didn't place any bets and didn't sweat anything out. And now he's not doing shows because he's got to take his kid to the dentist. So he's going to be all happy about that and think it's a reason to boast. But we'll get to hear from Andy next week. I see there's a comment here from Eric Andre. It says, it's a mess. When I made the thumbnail for the show today, I had in mind, have you guys seen The Campaign with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis? Yeah. Yep. That scene, he's like, bring your brooms because it's a mess.
Yes.
That was what I had in mind when I was thinking about the Florida Panthers, looking ahead at their game today against the Canes. Like, I'm looking at some of the odds for today's games. It is just wild what's going on in the East with Florida as well. But, I mean, before we get into some of these games, I was wondering if anybody had any takeaways. One thing, I mean, obviously being a Leafs fan, watching the game last night, it's kind of rough having to see the Leafs drop another game to Arizona, having to not only watch that, but also watch the screen flicker back and forth between regular color to green to purple. Just a gong show of a situation out there in Arizona and with the broadcasting crew last night. But Rob, did you get to catch that Leafs game at all?
I caught the two empty netters for Arizona. So I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I was watching Dallas beat Tennessee in a very unconvincing fashion last night, flipped over. I'm like, what the hell? Leafs are losing again to Arizona. And I caught the double empty netter for the Coyotes. But that kind of goes against something that I've been monitoring now for going on, I'd say 3 or 4 weeks, which is I actually love betting the Eastern Conference teams against the Western Conference teams. I think that's like a bit of a hidden advantage in the market right now. Obviously didn't work out with Toronto last night, but the Flyers did beat the Sharks last night in the only other East-West game. And honestly, like who is the best team in the West right now? Like probably Dallas.
Yeah, consistently probably Dallas. Yeah.
Where does Dallas fall in the East? They're probably like the 8th best team, maybe. Like there's no top quality teams in the Western Conference right now. And all these other smaller minnows, Buffalo, Detroit, teams of Ottawa, teams of that nature that are playing in the East are consistently playing powerhouses on a nightly basis, and it makes their peripherals look a lot worse. So I think when you adjust for quality of schedule, a lot of these lower rated, but like teams like Buffalo, for example, who beat Vegas a week ago as well, they look a lot worse just because of the conference that they play in. But that's sort of something that I've been targeting for a while now. And I don't like have a Western Conference team that I'm convinced is actually like an elite team. There's no one in the West that I think is an elite team.
I'm just kind of waiting for Colorado to get healthy because the peripherals are there. And I feel like once McKinnon and Landeskog and those guys are back, they'll start scoring at will again. But I'm with you. There's nobody really in the West right now that I'm lining up to bet on a nightly basis.
Yeah. This is where it kind of comes into play with the playoff format, right? Like I've seen some of some very interesting ways that they could re-rack the playoffs as you go into it. But like you look at some of the standings right now, you've got the Islanders, the Penguins, and the Rangers all with 44 points. That would be ahead of the Wilds, the Avs, the Flames, and the Kraken, and who are all currently in playoff spots out in the West. Now it is, I mean, about halfway through the season, and it's not like it's a crazy amount of points up on those teams, but these are teams who are legitimately fighting for playoff spots out in the East, and they just be comfortably ahead of teams who are feeling pretty good about themselves down the stretch here in the West going into playoff spots. I will say, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this before, but my favorite proposed playoff format was by a radio host here in Toronto, Brian Hayes, and he suggested that going into the playoffs, you allow the number 1 seed to draft the team that they play against in the playoffs. That was the favorite one to me. That would never happen. Gary Bettman would never allow that, but that would create so much chaos. Like, you want storylines, that would be it. Imagine the 1 seed picks a team to play against and they lose to them.
Well, I actually really like that idea. And honestly, the NHL, they would never do it, like you said, because they're kind of rooted in their ways. But that could be a pretty big event in and of itself, like the playoff draft, so to speak, where that could do some serious ratings for the league overall. But you always get the situation every year where like there's like a team that did really well in the regular season and they suffer like a big injury late in the year. And it's like that team's going to go in as the 3 seed or the 4 seed into the playoffs. And it's like everyone wants to play that team right now. So like, I do think that there should be an added incentive for the teams to pick. I've always loved that idea. I think it's unique. It creates like the NHL playoff structure, the way it is now, is like Bettman wants to create these rivalries, right? Like this is the whole thing. Like it doesn't work. Like the league, there's so many teams that are just, you're forcing something that's not there. You want to create a rivalry, have teams start to pick who they're going to play against, and then you're going to start to create rivalries in the league. Like that's how it's really going to work, because you're going to get the back against the wall for all these teams that are, they wanted to play us. Why didn't they pick these guys, this and that? And that's how you create rivalry in sports.
Yeah, well, like think about the first place team. They go and they pick like the 8th place team because they think that's the best matchup for them. Like some of that stuff would just be so intriguing. And you go in the locker room and it's like, just remember that team picked to play against us. Like they chose to play against us. I think some of that would create some.
You got to do it like March Madness, right? Like how they have all the kids at every school that are on the bubble, just all sitting in a gym together, watching the screen, and their team gets picked and they jump. Like this would be, you got to have every team in their own dressing room with full camera on them. Like as soon as that team sees who their GM picked for them to play against, and vice versa, which team got picked to play, to go up against another team. You show the live in like this stuff writes itself, right? I don't know why the NHL is so, they're just so opposed to like anything that's not, they just come up with the dumbest shit all the time. That's all I can really say. But like, it's infuriating. The current playoff structure is infuriating.
Yeah, Bettman's just not interested in any change. Hence why the Coyotes are playing in Arizona State right now. So, right. I mean, like, that's a pretty good example of it. Let's get into some of the games here tonight. We'll preview each of the 4, as there's usually not that many games on Fridays. So we'll go through each one and then give some best bets and some insight on them. we're looking at, so let's start with New Jersey, Pittsburgh first. New Jersey right now, Todd, I'm sorry, they're second in the Metro right now, and they've kind of taken a little bit of a slide. Keith, Keith Yandel had said about a month and a half ago, like he thinks the Devils are going to miss the playoffs. Everyone said, you're nuts for saying that. And since then, it's kind of started to tail off. Like this team is 2-7-1 in their last 10. 6 points back of Carolina now, only 1 point up on Washington, 2 points up on Pittsburgh. And this is a team that had created some significant room for themselves in the standings. Now, I don't know if this will actually result in them completely missing the playoffs, but if they continue down this path, that's more than possible. Then they're going up against Pittsburgh, who had started to figure some things out. They are holding on to the first wildcard spot right now. They just were passed by Washington. They're on a 3-game losing streak with losses from Carolina, the Islanders, and the Red Wings. And one of those included a brutal 4-0 blown lead that they had where they end up losing in overtime to Detroit. Despite Pittsburgh finding their stride, they've had a bumpy last couple of days. You're looking at this one. Pittsburgh is favored against the Devils here tonight, minus 120. Seeing best price for the Rangers in this one, plus 114. Todd, do you have any side in this one? Do you have any interest in this game?
Yeah, I played the Devils last night at plus 125. I would still play them at plus 114. Even though they've been losing a lot, they've still been playing well largely. They've been controlling run of play at 5-5, getting the better high danger chances. By and large, they just haven't been able to score, which, I mean, their bottom 6, they don't have much punch in it, but with Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, etc., it's only a matter of time before they start converting chances. The last 2 games, they faced Boston twice in a row. They outplayed them both games. I think they generated something like 8 expected goals over 2 games and scored 4 because Linus Ullmark was just unreal, which he has been all year. So I don't think it's time to panic in New Jersey. I still think they're a good team. And over the last 10 games, Pittsburgh has allowed more shots per minute than every team in the league except for Anaheim. So I think they're a little vulnerable on defense right now. And I think this is a good spot for New Jersey to generate chances and maybe get some shooting regression.
I'm in a similar boat to Todd here. I like the Devils. I think that there's, decent margin to play the Devils on this game in specific. One other thing of note, Chris Letang missed practice yesterday as well for the Penguins. Mike Sullivan said he's dealing with a lower body injury, so that's another thing just to keep your eye on specifically for this game. But it's the dad's trip, man. What are we doing here? You're playing in front of all the fathers who are coming out for just a couple of games a year. Of course, you're going to get the maximum effort, right? That's the narrative-based, thing when it comes to hockey nowadays. But I agree with a lot of what Todd said there. The Devils, despite the fact that they've been losing games, there was a point where their peripheral metrics tailed off a little bit relative to what they were at the start of the year, but they're actually playing well now, and they're just not getting the results. And typically, teams like that are undervalued in market. And Pittsburgh's like the complete opposite. For me, Pittsburgh was like a buy-on team for a while where their peripherals did not match like their underperformance. They went on a run, and now we're seeing them kind of tail off as well. So I like the Devils here, plus 114. I think that's a pretty decent price on them tonight.
All right, well, consensus best bet then on the show here. Devils plus it's actually got to 115 there, so if you can find that. There's some books with 115, so we'll lock that in on the BetStamp app. New Jersey plus 115 on the money line there tonight against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Another game to look at here, Nashville, Anaheim. You want to talk about teams in the West that just aren't that great. This is a prime example there, Rob, of this one. You're looking at Nashville being pretty decently favored in this one, minus 150 to Anaheim, plus 142. Actually, you're even seeing minus 156 on Nashville right now for this one. And Anaheim's crept up since we even started the show to plus 149. But Nashville is 7 points out of a playoff spot right now. They're off losses to the Avalanche and the Stars. Anaheim's just not being good. There was a point in time where they were through 30 games and they had only had 1 win in regulation. Now they've at least gotten that up to 3. So a round of applause to them for adding on those 2 more. But neither of these teams have been great. I think Nashville probably should have been better than they were, just at least by a little bit, like maybe not much, but we're looking at this one. It looks like there's no goalie announcements, no confirmations. Rob, how do you kind of break down this game? Is it accurately priced?
So here's what's happening, in my opinion. Anaheim's, I don't want to say that they've gone on a run, because they haven't gone on a run, but they've largely been better in terms of results over the last few weeks than they were at the beginning of the year, which was pretty ugly. And then you get Nashville, who's won 2 of their last 10 games, seem to be falling off a cliff. And I think the market has maybe overcorrected a little bit on this one, where Anaheim, like, we would be used to seeing them in, honestly, this game was played like a month ago. Anaheim's plus 200, right? Something along those lines. And we've seen quite an adjustment on both of these teams. Nashville gets Matt Duchene back tonight. He missed last game because he was attending to the birth of his child. He was with his wife through her pregnancy. So they get him back in the lineup for the early start today. My only concern is that this might be a Kevin Lankinen start for Nashville, which honestly, Lankinen has been fine this year. Like, for a backup, pretty quality this season, but it's just such a big downgrade from Saros that I would have to wait for a goalie confirmation in order to play this game. The strong lean would be towards Nashville. If you wanted to reduce some of the vig, obviously you could play a puck line, or you could take them in regulation or something along those lines. But I think if Saros starts, the value in this game lies on Nashville.
Yeah, I'm on Nashville in regulation. I played it at plus money. Pretty much, I agree with everything you said. The Ducks are still just god awful. Over the last 10 games, their high danger chance share is like 34% at 5-5. Like, it's honestly embarrassing. Like, Nashville should definitely control the run of play in this game. I would definitely prefer Sauer starts, but as you mentioned, Lankinen's been good this year. Among 74 goaltenders who have played 8 games, he ranks 6th in goals saved above expected per start. So he's actually been really good. I don't know if he's going to be that good moving forward, but I'm not too worried about him starting against this Ducks team. And like you said, I think the market's like overrating the Ducks a little bit right now, just because they've gotten a few results lately. So I'm on Nashville in regulation.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, this is one of those ones. I mean, if we had so money on, he'd be clicking refresh over and over again to find out the goalie news and breaking it live to us on the air. But
the thing is, it's a 5:00 game, so are they going to even have a practice today?
Probably
That's
not.
The question. They probably won't even take the ice. Yeah, so we won't find out till half hour before the game.
What a weird start time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So this is like a 2:00 afternoon start in Anaheim today.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there. That seems very highly unusual.
Yeah, that would make sense if today was New Year's Eve or something, but
right.
It's not. It's kind of weird.
That's the NHL special right there. They just they got no idea what's going on. Yeah, fire games. D saying not the greatest beat writing team in Nashville either.
Well, there are worse. There are worse than that. Anaheim might be one of the worst ones, actually. Anaheim's like the worst around. You can't find any information on Anaheim games.
No.
They have like 3 beat writers, and none of them ever tweets anything.
All right, another game to look at here, maybe a little bit more of an interesting game or a fun game to watch tonight, would be between Florida and Carolina. Look, I made the thumbnail like Florida. It's a mess in Florida, and realistically, it still is. They did just get a win, a 7-2 win over the Habs there in their last game, but this team is 8 points out of a playoff spot right now. They had a 3-game skid before that win against the Habs. Look at their goalies. Bobrovsky, like their $10.5 million guys at 8.97 save percentage. Spencer Knight has been a bit better, but he's still at like a 9.09 here. This team cannot string together more than 2 consecutive wins. It's been very, very inconsistent. It's actually been consistently inconsistent for Florida at this point of what they are and what their game has been on a nightly basis. But a team that has been extremely consistent lately has been Carolina. Carolina right now is first in the Metro, 7 points back of Boston in the East, which is decent number in terms of points, but realistically over the course of the remaining season here, about half of the season left, like that's a make-upable number, and considering how far ahead Boston was about a couple weeks ago, like that doesn't seem as ridiculous. Carolina here on a 9-game win streak, and their only loss in the last 10 games was actually a loss to the Ducks in overtime. Carolina right now minus 170 against Florida plus 165. Todd, is this is this accurately priced to you?
I think it's goaltending dependent. Well, my play would be. I don't really like either side in this game. I like the over of 6 if Kokachev doesn't start. Ranta got a shutout in the last game, so I'm kind of hoping that they just ride the hot hand, so to speak, because by goals saved above expected per start, he's almost a full goal worse than Kokachev. Kokachev's plus 777, Ranta's minus a quarter. So I think that's a good look in this game. If Ranta starts, but otherwise I don't have a play in this game. I kind of see it where it is.
I'm in full agreement with Todd. So we don't know for sure if Ranta's going to start, but looks like he's in the starter's crease right now at practice for the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are scary, man, because like you're going to get Pacioretty back in the next couple weeks as well. Not tonight, but like that's just going to be another addition to an already very deep lineup. The Panthers, got to take into account the goaltending situation here now. So I think what's most likely to happen, especially with Florida on the back-to-back, Carolina will probably badly outplay them tonight, but they do have the worst of their goaltenders in there. Maybe the Panthers are able to overcome that in some capacity. Like I'm not going to be running to lay this price right now. Carolina, minus 170 range with who I think is the worst goalie on their roster. So that's not going to happen, but the over 6 definitely appealing. Even the 6.5s at plus money, don't hate that whatsoever either. I do think that this game's going to be played at pace, pretty fast. Neither team with an above average goaltender going into this one. So I agree with Todd's look here. I like the over in this game, assuming Ranta's going to start.
Rob, question for you. So one thing that I've kind of thought about Carolina, and I think it kind of played out in the last couple of seasons that they've got to the playoffs. Now, this is not the only reason, but it feels like they don't really have that superstar. Like they don't have the guy. And I think that kind of hinders the team a little bit. You can obviously still have success and potentially win Stanley Cups without that, like the guy. But I think that having that is something that can really push you over the edge and differentiate you. I don't think Carolina necessarily still has it, but with adding Burns, with adding Pacioretty when he comes back here, is it enough of the guys who are in that tier just below to make up almost like a nucleus of guys who can create the guy? Or do you think Carolina might still have to kind of add a piece, or like where are they at in terms of team structure and ability to win a Stanley Cup?
I guess it depends on how you define the guy, because if we look at like Connor McDavid, no playoff success. Austin Matthews, no playoff success, right? So I don't think that there's like a high correlation right now between having a bona fide tier 1 superstar and playoff success. And Carolina, to me, is just a really well-built team. Like they don't really have, in my opinion, a legitimate weakness. I guess the weakness is that they don't have like that tier 1 superstar, but that's going to be like a team that's going to roll like 3 lines pretty deep in the playoffs. Good defensive core. They will get Anderson back eventually, and then they'll have an option between Anderson and Tkachuk as well over the course of the playoffs. Like scary team right now. Now, granted, it's the NHL. Things change on a whim like that, and you never know where we're at come April and May. But that's the team that I probably would want to be avoiding at all costs in the early going of the playoffs.
Yeah, and further to that point, just the way Nekas and Svechnikov are breaking out, they're both like a point per game right now. So I feel like those two hitting another gear definitely helps. And then I saw yesterday that Pacioretty was skating on a line with those two, like practicing for when he returns. So like if that's your second line, that's pretty tough to deal with.
Yeah. I guess my reference point is kind of like you look at Boston's with Marchand, Bergeron, McAvoy kind of thing, and like Tampa, Stamkos, Kucherov, Hedman, right? I just like some of those guys I think probably are a little bit above in the tier than kind of the guys Carolina has, but I think that that's a fair point. And yeah, if your team is just that good and you get the goaltending, it's not really going to matter. Final game here, a team that's not really getting the teams that are not really getting goaltending, other than really one guy of the four that are being run out between the two teams here in Stuart Skinner, where you're looking at Edmonton, Seattle. I'm honestly just gonna pull up the odds here to just check and see what they're at as of right now. Currently Edmonton -108, Seattle. There's a rogue plus money out there on Seattle, but you're seeing like -102 down through -110 on Seattle here tonight. But this Seattle team has really dropped off since the start of the season when they came out absolutely flying. Part of that was because they're getting incredible goaltending from Martin Jones, and that just hasn't held up. He's dropped down to what Martin Jones has been the last couple of seasons, now sitting at an .888 save percentage. Grubauer, 889. Their third string goalie, Joey Decord, 900 save percentage. It's just they haven't been getting the goaltending. This is a team that's found ways to score, found ways to win games still, but right now they are ahead of Edmonton because of their win percentage. They're tied in points at this point in the season, and you're looking at Edmonton. I love the rumors, especially when it comes to McDavid, just because for some reason, my personal thoughts on them or feelings towards Edmonton is just like wanting to see their world burn after having all those first overall picks that just didn't pan out. And now you're starting to see conversations of like, well, if Edmonton misses the playoffs, do they trade McDavid? So that stuff gets fun to watch from an exterior perspective. But I don't even know what to make of this game here tonight, Rob. I don't know if you have any lean or a side that you're preferring in this one, but like as it sits right now, it seems like it's kind of a coin flip. There was some news that we got this morning, courtesy of the man who's just a great father and couldn't come to the show today. But is there anything you're looking at between Edmonton and Seattle tonight?
Yeah, so that particular piece of news, I think there's two things to monitor specifically with this game. One is the status of Leon Draisaitl, which it seems like he is expected to miss the game. And in my opinion, that is not priced into the market fully right now. So that's one situation that we have in favor of Seattle. The second is that this could possibly be a Jack Campbell game. And there is a massive difference between Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner right now. And, am I interested in fading Edmonton with Skinner? No, because you're going to get one of Jones or Grubauer. It's going to be a significant goaltending mismatch in favor of the Oilers. However, you take Draisaitl out of the lineup, everybody moves up a spot, or Ryan Nugent-Hopkins probably moves up a spot. It's going to be tough not to bet Seattle basically as a pick'em on home ice without Draisaitl for the Oilers. So no matter what, I think Seattle's the play here, but you have some added upside in that you could get Jack Campbell, and then you might as well just bet even more on Seattle at that point, because they should close like -120, if not even higher than that, if that's the case. So not high on the Kraken personally. I think everything you said is right, Zach. They've kind of fallen off. A lot of that's been, goaltending over the course of the past month or so, but we're at a range now where like, I just can't get behind this price with what with the possible upside that we have for the Kraken in this game.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything Rob just said. Like I see a little bit of an edge on Seattle right now, but I kind of don't want to do it because I can't stomach Stuart Skinner stealing the game. Well, Martin Jones like completely sucks. Mm-hmm. But if Jack Campbell starts, that's a grade A banger on Seattle, because of 71 goaltenders this year with 8+ starts, Campbell's 65th in goals saved above expected per start. The only guys worse are like Merzlikins, who's like on an island right now. I don't know where he is. Cal Peterson's in the AHL. Alex Nedeljkovic is like the third stringer in Detroit because he's been so bad. Like those are the only guys who have been worse than Campbell. So like he's just god awful. And if Seattle's plus money at home against him, I'm definitely all about that. But I don't want to risk Skinner.
I would say for this game in particular, from a props perspective, as much as I lean towards Seattle in the game, I think that they're the side. This would qualify as one of those games from a props perspective where you will probably get some very good prices on Oilers players to score in the top 6 if Draisaitl is out. So the lab is up there.
Sorry, a little guest appearance here.
Yeah, no problem. So like the two that stand out for me, one would be Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for one. He's likely to get elevated in lineup, see a lot of Draisaitl's minutes if that is indeed the case. The second guy is Zach Hyman for me, who has already, in my opinion, been one of the unluckiest players in the entire NHL this year. He's shooting more than a percentage below his career shooting percentage. He's still generating a ton of high danger and medium danger chances this season. Like, I believe he has one of the highest medium danger chances rates in the entire league for this season as well. So, you're not getting that accurately priced right now. This is priced as if Draisaitl's playing because he's listed at all these sports books. So maybe guys like Zach Hyman and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, whether it's goals, shots, however you want to play them, whatever derivative you want to play them at, are probably worth a look for Edmonton.
All right. Well, we can lock in the Zach Hyman anytime goal scorer there on the BetStamp app as Edgework in the Find Better section. Rob, you haven't been on a show with Todd yet this year, so you haven't got to experience Toddy props. Todd's just going to fire away for anyone who's new to Todd being on the show. I saw a comment here from Connor Hartle, Toddy Friday. There we go. Toddy Friday, the Toddy props. Get the Toddy props experience. So Todd, let's hear what props you have for us here tonight.
Okay, I have 3 so far. I'd probably have 4 if there was any Darnell Nurse props list anywhere, but he's hit like 9 games in a row and the Bucks just decided he doesn't exist anymore, so that's cool. But the props I do have for you, I have Jared McCann over 2.5 shots at plus 114. He leads all Kraken forwards in shot attempts the last 10 games. He shoots the most when he's playing on a line with Jordan Eberle, which is expected to be the case. Like of all the regulars who he's skated with, he has the highest shot rate with Eberle. He's also on the top power play, which gives him extra opportunities to generate shots. So I like McCann at plus 114. Roman Josi over 4.5 at plus 110. Love that. He's a machine. The Ducks are the worst shot suppression team in the league. Josi, I believe, is 5th in the league in shot attempts, only behind like Pasternak, Ovechkin, like the top guys. Yossi's been regularly hitting over 4.5 against much better teams than Anaheim. So I really like him in that spot. And then I have a parlay here of Dougie Hamilton over 2.5 with Andrei Svechnikov over 2.5. Hamilton, like Josi, is one of the best shot-generating defensemen in the league. With John Marino and Ryan Graves out, he's playing an extra 2 to 3 minutes per game, so there's even more opportunity for him to shoot. As I mentioned, over the last 10 games, only Anaheim's allowed more shots than Pittsburgh. So it's not like it's a great matchup. It's not like the Penguins are a stiff matchup. And then also, the Penguins are 4th last in the league in shot suppression to opposing defensemen. Only like Columbus and Arizona, teams like that, give up more shots to defensemen. So I love Hamilton at 2.5. You can ladder him at 3.5 at plus money if you want as well. And then Svechnikov last. He is a much better shot generator at home than on the road. He's at home. It's a pace-up spot against Florida. He has averaged 4 shots in 7 attempts his last 10 home games. So I think over 2.5 parlayed with Hamilton at plus 154 is a really good value.
All right. We locked all those in on the BetStamp app. There you go. There's your Toddy props for the Friday. So lead you in with some nice shots on goal props and a little parlay mix in there. There was no like Carlson parlay or anything like that today, Todd. What happened?
Well, there's no Carlson's playing, so that's the first issue.
Only 3 props on 4 games. I'm highly disappointed in this entire segment.
I know.
Highly disappointed.
Normally I spit out like 10 and it's like half the show. It just doesn't stop. I'm just rambling on. Like people are probably tuned out by like the 3rd prop.
But there's winners in there. There's winners. That's why the Edgework account is up on the season. So you can find all the picks that are given out on here on the Edgework account in the BetStamp app. Look at that. 150, 172, and 4. Up 13.5 units, though. A 3.7 ROI. Not bad.
It's not the record that matters, right? It's that return on investment.
Yeah.
Look at that. There's all of our picks for today. And just a rogue Minnesota Wild Stanley Cup winner from Matt Russell on the Tuesday show. So I saw that the other day and I was just laughing. I forgot that he was even in there. I'm like, wild.
He loves the Wild. He comes on each week and just gives a random Wild bet.
I mean, the West is so wide open. Like the Wild can win the West easily.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's just funny.
Yeah, exactly. All right, there you go. There's today's show. Hopefully everyone got those picks. If you did not, you can find them back after the fact in the BetStamp app as Edgework in the Find Better section. If you missed today's show live, you can always watch them back on YouTube, on our YouTube channel as Edgework. Make sure to subscribe to us there, like this stream, like this video after the fact, and you can turn on notifications so you get notified when we do go live so that you don't miss it in the future. And if you're just catching the tail end of this, you want to catch up on it and you don't want to watch, you can always find us on podcasting platforms in the future or for today's episode. So make sure to find us there as Edgework as well. Rob, Todd, thank you guys. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. Good luck on your bets tonight. And
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah.
Happy New Year. And we'll see you guys next week.